Today I'm going to show you a few extras that you can purchase when you're buying your RT4 boat. Now, when you go to CarpLounge.de, it gives you a few options that will allow you pimp up your boat. There are extras that you can buy for it. When I bought this particular boat, I bought it with a standard motor. The motors come in three flavors. They have the standard motor, the ultra silent, which is designed for very small intimate waters where stealth is required, and they also then have the high powered motor, which is a brushless motor. Now the high powered motor is one designed for big inland seas and reservoirs, and also, you know, rivers, large rivers, especially the ones that we would see more on the continent. I decided to send my boat back after buying it with the actual standard motor. I sent my boat back for an upgrade to the actual high power motor, and I have to say it makes a huge difference. It runs around 50% faster than the standard motor, which you know, also that means it will drain the battery much faster inside. But if you just switch it on a fraction when it's going out, it will actually match the same speed as the standard boat, so you don't have to run it at high speed all the time. But the thing is, once you have it, you tend to do that, you know, so just be aware it will drain the battery a little bit faster, not by much, but a little bit. So as I said, there are a number of upgrades you can make when you're purchasing the actual boat, and one of the things are echo sounding units and GPS units. Now they have a whole myriad of them. But what I decided to do was to go for the Toslon TF640. Now this is an echo sounding unit that also has built-in GPS. Now the real question here is, why would you need GPS? Well, the GPS is brilliant because when you find a spot out on the lake that you like, the echo sounder is favourable for that spot. You can mark it on your unit, and then it means that by a quick pressing of a button, you can then return your boat to the exact same spot time again, and it's accurate within 1 meter. So you know, when you're fishing at distance, having that advantage is huge, because it can be very confusing over distance. If you don't have a physical marker in the water to go to, it can be very confusing where you actually are. So it is a real simple way of replacing your bait into the same zone that you've caught a fish from or you've been baiting up. There are other things you can do with the GPS system. The GPS system will allow you go to, say, pre-bait certain lakes and keep pre-baiting certain spots. So you can go midweek, hit the GPS button, put your baits out or your feed out in the same zone, and then by the time you get there at the weekend, no one's any the wiser that you've been actually baiting up in those zones. So it is a handy little feature. It's not going to be for everyone's needs, but you know what, it's a superb feature for me, and one that I thought would be a really good add-on for the boat itself. So the boat itself isn't an aerial boat. There is no aerial on it, so you don't need the aerial, but if you're using the echo sounder, you'll actually have to pop this one on. The reason being, it needs to have, you know, a good transmission back to the actual unit itself here on the bank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the basic setup of this particular unit so that you can understand the simplicity of it, because it's confusing at first, but once you get the grasp of it, it's actually, you know, it's a no-brainer. So let's have a look at the unit itself. So the unit itself is powered by either batteries in the compartment here at the back, and it takes AA batteries, which are nice and handy to find in any garage. Wherever you are, you'll always find AA batteries. But if you are in for a longer session, what you can do is you can wire up a lead acid battery, any kind. This is one of those typical alarm batteries, and then you can make a little wire and connector and pop it straight into the actual unit itself. There's a little power socket just there, and that will then give you unlimited power. To be honest with you, I think you could be running that for a couple of months before that would start to drain the battery. The unit itself is nice and compact and folds away nice and neat, and it's stored actually in the actual BaitBoat bag that CarpLounge supply. It fits in very nicely with the handset, so you can carry it with the boat at all times. So the first thing we need to do is switch on the echo sounder. It's a simple on-off button, and then you will be given basically a load screen. The very top reading here gives you the distance from home. So as I said, when you set up your boat, you set your rod position as your home point. That means it knows where it's going from and coming back to. The second one down here is number of satellites. Now you can actually increase the amount of data that you have here via the actual main menu, but I find less is more. I don't need to know all the ins and outs of it, but it can give you things like water temperature and stuff like that, which is, you know, surface water temperature is probably an interesting thing to have on. The number of satellites is the next one down. Obviously, the more satellites you have in view of your unit, the better the GPS will work. The next one down here is the speed of the boat in meters per second. Again, a function that you may find of interest, possibly not. The last one down at the bottom that I have here is the voltage reading of the actual power unit that's powering the actual echo sounding unit. So basically I have a 12 volt battery that's external. It's telling me that I've got 11.6 volts of juice. So I've no problem running this unit on that actual power unit there. Now on the right hand side, underneath the actual echo sounding part, you have the BaitBoat position on a graph. Now you can have either a graph which will then show you detailed lines and routes that you've taken, or you can set it up so that it's an actual compass. Now I prefer the compass because it gives you a very, very detailed directional viewpoint, which I think is a much more important thing. Just below the compass as well, there's a thing called distance in meters, and that means distance to target. So basically what it will do, if you're 100 yards or 100 meters, say if you're 100 meters away from your target, as you're getting closer and closer to the spot, obviously that number is decreasing from 100 down to 0. There is also an arrive alarm set in this particular unit, and you can either set it off, you can turn it off, or you can actually have it set so it's either when you arrive within 3 meters it beeps, or when you arrive within 1 meter. Now I have it set so I arrive in 1 meter, it will actually start beeping and letting me know that I've arrived. And as I say, by keeping the actual nose of the compass on the red dot is my target that I've set, so that's out in the water, and then it's a case of keeping the nose of the triangle on that little red dot. So you can either have it set to a red dot or a cross or a symbol, and that's set when you set your target. You can go in and edit the details, and when you go into the first box, it allows you set the target symbol. So it could be, you know, a fish sign, or it could be an actual cross or a bullseye. It depends on what suits your preference. As I said, this is such a configurable system, and it's such a great way of baiting up and great way of dropping baits consistently in an area. One of the things I've always found when I'm range fishing, it's very hard to judge distance at range unless you've clipped up. With this particular unit, you don't have to worry about that. Once you go out to the spot and keep everything in line with the actual red dot or cross, watch your distance in meters coming down. When it beeps and you hit the 0 on the actual thing, you can just drop away and off you go. It's such a great little unit. There are many features that are configurable on the Echo Spotter, and these can be accessed by toggling through the menu info settings. There are a number of information tabs that can be added to your home page to give you maximum information, or you can keep the screen uncluttered with only the bare essentials. Also, there are a number of background functions that can be accessed to make your unit more suitable for your needs, such as echo sounder sensitivity, fish alarms, and minimum and maximum depth alarms. The list is comprehensive and easy to navigate, with most of the items being self-explanatory. So the first thing you need to do is to let the GPS unit recognize that there is a set home point. Now the home point will be where your rods are. So to do that, all you have to do is scroll down the menu to where it says set home point, and once you've set that, it logs into the computer on board that's where it's to return to, and when it's going out from that point, it will recognize that that is the base point. So to set a waypoint, So you've gone out into the spot, you've found via your echo sounding unit a mark that you want to fish to. It's very, very simple. All you have to do is press the bottom arrow, and then it will give you an option of a quick marker. Now, once you set the quick marker, it means that if you press the arrow again, it's a simple case of hitting OK and it will set it. It's literally a 2-button press, so that you're not having to worry about when you're out there, you're not having to worry that you're fiddling with stuff and the boat's drifting off the spot. It's a very quick operation once you know what you're doing. After that, you can go back in and configure that setting, so you can rename it to whatever you want it to rename to. You can set it to whichever number down the list. There's 500 waypoint store points on this, so you're never going to be stuck. And once you name them, they can stay logged in the system forever. And it means that once you go back and set your waypoint, or your home point should I say, you can then go back to that same spot every single time because you've got it stored. So if you fish 3 or 4 lakes and you have built up a couple of swims in those lakes, you can have them all mapped out on your actual computer on board. So it's a great little system. So if we set OK, that means now we're set. The waypoint is now set on this so that I can return if I want to. So if I want to return to the waypoint, I can then just scroll down to where it says waypoint. When I click the bottom arrow again on the very right hand button, it will give me all the waypoints that I've stored. Then I can go up and down to whichever rod I'm fishing, and I can then hit the waypoint, press OK. So I'm going to scroll up to this particular one. I press the bottom arrow again, and then it says set as target. So if I set this as target, that means it's going to go to that point. So again, I press the bottom arrow. My preference is to actually have it to set on the compass, because that tells me exactly where the boat is steering to. Obviously it's a triangle. The point of the triangle is where the front of the nose of the boat is. And when you are setting a waypoint, when you actually go back to the waypoint, you will have a small little red X or symbol, because you can change the symbols for whatever you need. And what will happen is that symbol will, if you line up the point to the symbol, it means that you are going to hit that target. It also will give you a distance to destination. So as it decreases, you'll see that it'll get down to about 3 meters, and you can either set the arriving alarm to give you an audible, so that when you arrive at the spot you can have it set to either 3 meters, 2 meters, or 1 meter. I prefer the 1 meter mark. It gives you an audible beeping, and that means you're on the spot. So if I want to delete a waypoint, it's a very simple operation. Again, if I go down to my waypoint, I click on the waypoint, I'm able then to scroll up and down the actual waypoints here, and then it's a simple case of I find a waypoint I want to delete, I press the bottom button, and it gives you the details to delete, set as target, or new. So I go down to delete, I press the bottom button again. It gives me a very simple delete this item, no or yes. So you scroll over to yes, hit the bottom arrow, and that waypoint is now deleted. So if you've decided that's not the spot for you, it's a very simple way of just deleting that data, and then you've cleared up a waypoint for a further spot that you find. The echo sounding unit part is a very detailed echo sounder, but as with all echo sounders, in very, very shallow weedy water, they struggle. And to be honest with you, anything under 1 meter, most echo sounding units will struggle to give any viable data. This particular lake I'm on is a very weedy, shallow water, so the echo sounding unit is probably a mute point. We wouldn't really use it, but the GPS still works fine, so I'm still able to go out, drop a bait, and utilize the GPS function. Now, as typical with a one-size-fits-all unit, this is a jack of all trades, a master of none. There are better designated units, so if you wanted an out-and-out fish finder, they do a Lowrance 4X chipset, which is an outstanding echo sounder. The actual GPS unit, they also do a standalone GPS unit, which is again a slightly better version than what's in this unit. If you wanted to, you could run, you know, a designated echo unit and a designated GPS unit in tandem with each other. Obviously the expense creeps up when you do something like that, but as I said, I fancied like having an echo sounder that would give me a rough idea of what type of bottom I'm fishing over and the depth I'm fishing, and also show me weed beds, etc. And also the fact that it would have some sort of GPS system built in was a win-win for this particular unit. You really need to check out online on the CarpLounge.de website. Now they actually have just rebuilt the website to include a full English section, which makes life a lot simpler and a lot easier. So you need to check that out online.